Hello everyone, this is Charlotte. It's a bit dark today because it's stormy. Probably can't see me actually. This is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. It's where I talk about random topics while I drive to work. Essentially in a hurricane today, so that's going to be fun. We've got some interesting side winds. So if you see the car suddenly go, ugh, don't worry, we're still alive, we're going to keep going. There's a disclaimer at the start of this podcast. Oh, who left the bins out? Really? Mental. Anyway, good luck cleaning that up. Anyway, there's a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about sensitive topics and I do go on tangents, so I'm not going to be sticking to one topic in particular. So if you don't want to hear any of that, I suggest changing channel or listening to something else. I also swear a lot. I'm not giving that up anytime soon. So if you don't like the fact that anyone is swearing, I suggest again change the channel. But then again, it is rated at 18 plus, so there's going to be adult content. So I'm not marketing to kids, I guess. I also have the flu. I'm sorry. So you might hear me sniffling, snuffling, coughing whilst I'd scream wildly at drivers. And we try not to hit anyone because also there are side winds, cracking into us. And, it's going to be an adventure. Let's go. I don't know if you can even see the weather from here. It is so messed up right now. It's like a tornado's gone through. Ooh. Anyway, the topic for today is time wasting. Everyone's guilty of it. We all procrastinate. No one is perfect. That is okay. Justified time wasting though in order to promote further enhancement on a project, though, is probably the best way to look forward to it. For the most part I find time wasting boring and obviously a waste. You want to get onto your projects and get things running, get up and get it done. A lot of people might sort of rest on their laurels after they've completed something. You can do that, that's okay. You're rewarding yourself essentially for putting in the hard work. I have no problem with that. I have a problem when people literally waste their time and talk out of their ass, talking about the things they want to do. Because it's a waste, isn't it? You got all these good ideas, these amazing things. All you have to do is put some effort in and get it running and maybe do some research. Maybe there's a lack of funding or something like that. You've got to get on top of that as well. Even if there's a lack of funding, I'm sure you can go out and find ways of making it happen. I mean, think about, in a horrible metaphoric kind of way, think about all those crackheads that always find money for drugs. It's like, that's not exactly a nice metaphor, but it's true. It's like, if you want something bad enough, you'll go and get it. I suppose you probably should keep it as ethical as possible. Robbing people probably ain't the way forward. But you gotta... Oh, the wind's already starting. Oh shit. Okay. I'm just gonna see the car go. It's like, oh shit. Dodging branches and shit. This is gonna be fun. It's an adventure. Where's my Indiana Jones music? Now I want to stay home and watch that. Anyway. The problem with time wasting and procrastinating is you're going to miss a lot of opportunities, windows of opportunity that become present and available to you from the universe, if you want to go that way. Because you're just sitting on your ass. You're not taking grasp of it. You're like putting it off, thinking you've got a second chance later. Sometimes you got to move your ass to catch, the snitch. I keep giving these Harry Potter metaphors. You got to move your ass. To some degree, we need to be opportunists, and we're built to be opportunists for the most part because it's part of our survival mechanism. If we didn't take a chance at the opportunities that are presented for us in the past, maybe we would have starved out. Coffee ground, weird. So at the same time, you got to recognize when you're risking what could be an amazing thing, fulfilling thing, for the sake of, I just can't be asked, or I can't be bothered, or I don't feel good enough, or I don't, time wasting can't be the default in someone's life, I don't think. Simply because you're going to miss out on what's good for you, or what you should be doing. We're only given so many finite years to be using this in this life. until we get to the next one. But by then we've forgotten what we're supposed to be doing, so we have to restart the game again. It's like, I forgot where I respawned. Shit. What are we doing again? Where's my kit? It's all gone. Fuck. I just collected all that. So yeah, you get complete reset on the next load. It's a bit like a game. You start from birth and you have to relearn everything. Yeah. And hopefully remember by the next time what you're supposed to be fixing. But if you're wasting your time, like I have horrible feelings and thoughts about how much time I wasted being with someone who didn't want me, who I wanted to believe wanted me. So now I'm thinking, I'm nearly 40, I've got one more year to go. I wasted my early 20s and early 30s attached to someone who wasn't right for me, and then nearly wasted further than that to another person, all because I wanted to make some shit work. And partly because when I was married, I was comfortable where I was, even though it wasn't good. It was familiar, so it wasn't good, but I accepted it. It was time wasting. I should have been able to I stand up for myself and recognize what was not good, and been able to cut my losses at that point. But being that I was younger, that I had lower self-esteem, that I didn't really recognize that I had the resources internally to stand up for myself, I sat in that predicament for quite a while. 16 years, assuming this was the way it should be, and I was wasting time at that point. It wasn't later until I figured out what I was supposed to be doing, my North Node. And whilst it had some grounds in what I was doing when I was married, it wasn't great circumstances to be approaching it, because it was a one-sided relationship where everything was sort of drained. My North Node, which is on your birth chart, your North Node is your planet that's meant to be showing you what you're doing this lifetime. And this is going to get a bit esoteric, so if you don't want to hear it, don't listen. It tells you what you're supposed to be doing this lifetime. Oh great, the lights are out. This is going to be fun. Watch them shit themselves. Great. More debris. Whee! Okay. But anyway, what I was doing, I was trying to make a home, but I was trying to make a home with the wrong person. I've got a Taurus North Node. That's stability, no bullshit, work hard, get the job done. Okay, you might not lead. I also have Aries in me, but you might not lead, but you're definitely going to aim for stability. I wasn't leading at the time, so I was under the leadership of my ex-husband, who was a fire sign, Sagittarius. He had ideas. They weren't exactly good, because they were centered around things that benefited him. And he didn't mind me being the workaround to get the job done. And me thinking that love is working hard for someone and providing and taking whatever shit they give you is the way to prove that you are worth keeping around. My self-worth was tied into what I could give to someone, regardless of whether I was protecting myself. Later I would recognize that I need to lead in order to be following my North Node the most, because we've all got our individual paths. He has the same North Node. He should have been leading and working on his own rather than relying on me to provide for both of us. But he was happy to make it look like he was leading by directing traffic while I did the actual work. I thought at the time it was maybe a good team, because you need a leader and a follower. That's the dynamic. But at the same time, the way he was leading us was not conducive to any kind of growth. We were neutralizing each other, essentially. Sorry, is that rain? Can you hear me? I'm hoping it won't keep up that. Oh, it's gonna get worse. I will try and do this podcast. I might post it, I might not. But at the same time, as much as he was giving ideas and the work I was putting in, it neutralized each other. It's so rainy. Because, I'd make the money and he'd spend it, essentially. He did put in somewhat, but it was never at the same rate or to the same effect that I did. because, you know, I had the stable job. I was willing to start up businesses and everything on the side, while I was keeping, you know, full-time work and trying to keep shit going. Whereas he wanted to concentrate on, oh, that's a bit quieter. He wanted to concentrate on setting up his business as a PT, which was boot camps. He was also being like a personal trainer for someone else in a semi-health centre kind of thing, which didn't afford much pay either. So he had a job, but it wasn't a great job, but he was also in the beginnings of his business, which was not a great business. So I was doing the bulk of the labour. There's a song in that. Trying to give him, you know, a stable foundation for which he could launch his shit off of. And that was only towards the end of the relationship. Before that, he was in the Navy, which he quit. He went to uni, which he quit. He worked for his dad, which he quit. It was a constant state of quitting shit when it got uncomfortable. And it created tension in the relationship, yes. But I kowtowed to it, believing that this should be happening. Because I don't believe in divorce. And partly I still don't believe in divorce. Because I don't think it's the thing you should go to straight away. Unless it's something absolutely serious like abuse, you know, adultery, something absolutely serious. If you've got personality conflicts, then that needs to be worked on. But, you know, there was nothing keeping that marriage together, but at the time I thought it was worth it. And I was essentially time wasting, because as soon as I got out of it, I realised that I worked better on my own, under my own guidance, under my own leadership, and everything that I was doing for us, which I then turned to just doing for me, completely compounded the situation for the better. I didn't answer to anyone. I didn't have anyone draining my resources. I didn't have anyone to tell me I'm wrong or undermine whatever I'm doing, because it looked a bit weird at the time. I didn't have that person taking me away from what I needed to do because they wanted me to do something for them. And it sounds a bit selfish at the time, but, you know, it's the things we do for love, essentially, could mean undercutting what you're actually supposed to be doing and wasting your own time, which is horrible. I mean, you want to find a balance, obviously. But when this person you are with starts dictating what you should and shouldn't be doing, to the point where they're also dictating what you should wear, how you should act, what you should say and stuff like that, and they're having little digs about your confidence and stuff underneath. Like, he would give me shit about all kinds of things about my body and stuff, and I'm sitting there going, I know you're doing it in a joking way, but this is still undermining, or attempt to undermine my confidence. I might brush it off, but at the same time, it's not cool, dude. It's a weird thing. I mean, it was an attempt to keep me in my place, which was the workaround and not the, you know, the one directing traffic. Because obviously, maybe he recognized consciously or subconsciously that he wasn't actually doing anything of substance. And anyone who was doing something of substance was a, you know, blow to his ego. So he sits there and has a dig at you. Meanwhile, he's still trying to get the money off me. So it's like, you cut your legs out from underneath you there, dickhead. Which I found weird when I left, after I left. When you're in the game, their game, it's a whole different story, because you just don't see it. You brush it under the rug and you try and make it work, and you're stuck here, so let's make it work, and all this extra crap. But essentially you're just wasting time, because you don't want to face that you need to change this situation, and this person is an asshole. An exploitative one if you ran into my ex. Either one of my exes, actually. But, you know, it's the only person's time that you're wasting is your own, to be honest, because you're not wasting their time. You're wasting your time by allowing the shit to happen and enabling them to treat you like that, or to sit in the same circumstances, clearly don't work. And that's what leads to all kind of unhealthy things, like trying to band-aid problems with, you know, medicating food, or I gained weight when I was married because consciously or subconsciously I wasn't happy. And he would give me shit about gaining weight as well, because he was a personal trainer, of course. He decided we had to look a certain way, and I'm like, I'm not a personal trainer, I'm a teacher, dude. Meanwhile, you know what I don't understand, though? Here's the thing. Here's the double standard. He would bring the junk food in the house. Okay, he'd bring it in, and then he'd complain that I'm getting fat, and then he would try and force me into doing, like, exercise and shit and burpees and all this crap. And I went with it because I'm like, I'm the dutiful wife. But then he'd keep bringing the shit in the house. It's like, why? He wanted to create the problem. Not that I'm not an adult that can't make decisions for myself. I'm not victim, like saying I'm the victim here and he's forced this on me. I've actively made a decision to eat the shit. I could have stood up for myself and said no. But at the same time, it's like, why would you create a problem and then blame the problem for occurring? You know, it's like don't. Yeah, and it was just a weird scenario, and you don't recognize these things until you start leaving scenarios like that. It's almost like you wanted to be conditioned into being the object for blame. You know, it was a weird dynamic. I'm gonna make you fat, and then I'm gonna blame you for being fat, so that I feel better about being this savior who's gonna make you go to the gym. As an adult, I should have told him to fuck off. As an adult, I should have said, I'm not eating that shit because I don't feel good doing it. But, you know, it was always a case of, I brought you this, let's share it. And I'm like, And as soon as you go on like a diet or something, it's always a case of, I brought this home for us to eat. And you're sitting there looking for moments of intimacy, and most of our relationship was based on food, our intimacy. So it's like, of course, I was getting fat. I was craving intimacy from a man who was treating me like shit. And I was also emotionally eating as well. Like, when I was in high school, I would stress starve. I beat anorexia, obviously. But then I started gaining because now I went the other fucking way. So I was still craving love and affection, and I pad my body up with extra food, essentially, stored food, in order to compensate for these, you know, these lack of affection, the little nasty comments about, oh, your nose looks like this, or your feet are gross, or you're getting fat, or oh, you're squishy, and, you know, all this kind of shit. And you sort of pad yourself up for your self-esteem, assuming that you'll feel better eating this food. Consciously or subconsciously, I was miserable. But I was trying to make it work by giving myself little treats and stuff. And I do that just before work. I turn up to like an IGA, which is just a small market. It's like a Woolworths, but smaller. And I do remember quite a few times I would load myself up on cakes and shit just to go into work. In between overworking myself essentially to provide for us, I would eat the shit as I go through my work day. He never knew I was doing it because I was always hiding the evidence. By the time I got home, I knew as soon as I told him, or he found out that I was eating this shit, that, you know, I'd get shit for it. It would either be a case of, why didn't you share this with me? Or, why are you eating that shit? Or, you know, you're coming to the gym. It's always some shit. And it was a case of never feeling good enough as well. Because he'd make you feel like you're not good enough. By directing your behaviors like you can't, I don't like long hair, or I don't like girls that wear this, I don't like girls that wear makeup, I don't like, you know, constantly not feeling good enough. And in all honesty, I wasn't the person for him. Either that, or he just likes the game of manipulating people and controlling people because he feels insecure about him. He can't change things about him, so he'll try and change things about you. It's like, honestly, it's that internal struggle he's facing, but taking it out on you, essentially, because you're the nice, willing participant who will take the shit and try and keep the harmony of the relationship, when really you're miserable. But because you're so enmeshed in this sort of trauma bond, where the breadcrumbing is, I brought food home for you so we can share it, and this is our intimacy, he created a shitstorm which couldn't have survived. And then there's a case of like where they just lose sexual attraction for you. And you know, I noticed that because my love language is physical touch. It's touch, groping, sex, all the fun stuff. But he didn't want me that way. So he had created this chubby monster that even he found sexually unappealing, you know, and then ditched me. God, you bastard. And I had to reconcile with that I had enabled and allowed this prick to do that to me for years. And I'm sitting there going, if you aren't attracted to this, why are you making or saying or trying to coerce me into being it? You didn't make it. I could have stood up and said, this is what I want to be, look like, do like. You can go fuck yourself. I should have done that, but because I wanted so much to keep this shit running, I was in such a state of denial that this needed to end. And I couldn't be wrong, right? Because there's that thing again. It's like, I can't be wrong. Because if I'm wrong about this, what about everything else? And that's my ego jumping in, and I had to fucking that one back. Because that's how you get yourself in shit. But I couldn't be wrong, and I'm sitting there going, I'm just getting fat. Like, I felt gross. You do feel gross, and I know it's always presented as like a shallow thing when you feel shit about yourself. Like, yeah, don't feel bad about yourself even though you gained weight. Oh, it's just fat shame. It's like, no, I genuinely feel physically shit. Health-wise, I felt gross sexually, and it was a case of him not finding me sexually attractive plus me not feeling sexually attractive. And, you know, it just creates a toxic environment where you're never really the person that they want you to be, but they love the game of keeping you around so they can, you know, you're a punching bag essentially. You're never going to be what they want. Because they don't want you to be anything more than an emotional punching bag. For, you know, essentially just taking out their own insecurities about themselves. It's a bit fucked up. That's a covert narc. Or was it an overt narc? He's a narc. Either way, these people that prey on people in order to make themselves feel better about themselves. There's shitloads of them these days. We're just starting to identify the bricks. You go, hey, these are common traits. How did I not notice this? Oh yeah, I was in the midst of it. Oh right, yeah. That's a bit shit. But at the same time, you're like, why did I tolerate this long? Because I just wanted to keep the peace. Because I didn't want to, I had a fear of abandonment. I know I had a fear of abandonment. I was afraid of losing him, and I'm sitting there thinking after I left, like and it takes years after you leave. It's not just a straight up the bad thing. It takes years for you to look around and go, what the fuck was I afraid of losing? Because this guy's an asshole. It's like that clarity that comes with distance and analysis, and actually looking at it without the pedestal, without the rose-colored glasses, you realize just how much time you fucking wasted. That haunts me. Because I could have been with someone who treated me fucking nice, you know? It's like, I could have been. And I was such a soft, compliant, friendly, you know, like a fluffy wife, man. It's like we never argued because I wouldn't have allowed it. You know, it's like I was always bowing down, shit like that. And that was my life lesson, is I had to learn, you do actually need to stick up for yourself, even when it doesn't seem as bad as it could get. Like, he was never hitting me around, he wasn't sexually abusive like my ex-boyfriend, he was just manipulative and digging at you and shit like that. And you're sitting there thinking, you're bruising my self-esteem in order to keep me in a situation where I'm compliant to giving you what you want. And essentially that is just an emotional punching bag so you can feel better about your own lack of development. And, you know, I just wanted to maintain that at the time. So I feel really bad. And I had to do some self-forgiveness there for allowing that to be an ongoing fucking thing. It shouldn't have been an ongoing thing. Guy was an asshole. I didn't want to recognize it at the time because it wasn't as seemingly dangerous or urgent as someone, say, who was smacking you around. It didn't feel like a danger at the time. But if you look at it in hindsight, you're like, I could have completely lost myself and he would have kept doing that shit. And I would have just had to be happy to go with it. And then finally the coup de grace, I need an open marriage. Did he think at that time that he had damaged me enough that I would be okay to stay for that? It's like, you're an idiot. It's like, at that point we take the fucking stand. We say, no. That was the cincher. That was the universe stepping in and saying, this guy's a real fucking prick and this is what he's willing to do. And then the actions that came after it, like the ghosting, the not giving a fuck if I was homeless, all that kind of shit that came after it, the lack of concern, just concreted how little he gave a fuck about anyone but himself at that point. At that point, I started getting a bit ruthless. That's when my dark feminine kicked in. I went hell for leather with that shit. I went scorched earth policy and all that shit, and I fucking had a good time. I was angry. 16 years in the service of a narc. I'm like, fuck you, guy. 16 years. I could have been doing something way better or someone way nicer. But I went scorched out policy on that. I cut that fucker off in every way I could possibly do so fucking fast. I'm like, no, when I mean I'm done, I'm done. I'm done. I had everything, all our shit separated and or cancelled within a week of separating from him. All our healthcare benefits, all the bank accounts, I'm like, close it, cut it, I don't want to know. I don't want to fucking know. At that point I decided, when I decide, I fucking decide. It's the no umming and ahhing. He had the apartment because I had left with the clothes on my back. When did I leave? I think it was January. I got the apartment back in August. I think it might have been the second year. The first year he had it, the second August of the separation. So I was roughly homeless for about a year and a half or so. Plus I had to renovate my dead grandparents' house, which was weird. My parents are weird when the way they react to sympathy. But at the same time, you know, you start to reassess what kind of person they were. Things become clearer. You start thinking, would I have ever done this to someone? No. But yet they have no problem doing it to me. And it starts to mount up just how much of a fucking time waste it was. And you start to reassess, am I going to do this again? And so you find ways to, you know, recognize patterns where it could happen again. And it is a bit of trauma. It is relationship trauma by definition. But at the same time, you know what's potentially coming. And you start saying, is this the kind of person, from what I can see in their actions, that could, you know, waste my time again? The ex-boyfriend that came after him was an anomaly because I wasn't used to that. I'd gone straight from high school to dating a guy to marrying the guy I went with in high school. He was my high school sweetheart. And we've been together 10 years. Before we got married, so again, I was green with that. I didn't understand what was going on when I met my ex-boyfriend, who'd been playing the field since he was 17 or some shit. So I didn't understand the game. But as soon as you recognize patterns and trends where you feel uncomfortable, or they're not putting a label on it, or they're not naming it, or not claiming you, or, you know, all these extra little bits where they want to keep their options open, and then you're finding evidence and you're like, you sit there and think, yeah, you're wasting my fucking time. And at this point you question, is it even worth you staying around to waste my time? So, you know, I wised up to that one. It took a couple of breakups because I was still trying to give him extra chances. But, you know, you wise up eventually and you go, no, fuck, you're a time waster, fuck off. It became clear. It was almost like over that period, I was just collecting evidence as to just how much of a fuck up and a time waster he was. So it was good. It never reverted back to the initial feeling I had at the start of the situationship, where it was all, you know, love bombing and feeling comfortable, or trying to feel comfortable with this new person. I was never excited. After that first breakup, I was never really excited about being around him again. I was like, oh, this is cool. Okay, so this is what we're doing now. And I tried to make it work. But every time it's like, it's like consciously I decided this probably isn't it. And then anything after that was probably confirmation that this wasn't the one. But it took me a while to build up the confidence in my intuition about the red flags and the evidence, and it took me a while to build it up, because I didn't want to be, you know, like, I didn't want an unconfirmed suspicion. I wanted to make sure I was in the right before I made a move, like a final move. Like Mortal Kombat. Kill him. Finish him. But I wanted to know that I was doing the right thing by me at that time. And by the time it got to the 6th breakup, I'm like, I just cannot foresee any reason to stay or come back or anything. I'm good. By then we got evicted, so it's like, okay, so even the universe is stepping in and saying, don't fucking waste your time any further than this. This is done. I'm like, okay. The things I found out again after the breakup, you're sitting there thinking, I did waste my fucking time with you, didn't I? I learned some shit. I learned quite a bit of shit, because this was a new and a novel experience for me. I learned that fuckboys age into 40s. I And yet they don't like the label of fuckboys, which is interesting. Yet they do all the moves. Interesting. Anyway, I'm a player. Fuckboy. Don't ingratiate yourself. Ingratiate. Go glorify yourself. The flu's got to go. Sorry, this is. I know you don't want to hear that. But the thing is, you don't want to waste time on shit that you know is not going to work. Now, it's not to say just overthink the situation completely and never start. Far out, man. Some serious. It's a dry cough too. It's horrible. Still not COVID. Never had COVID. What the fuck is going on? What's all the hype about? I'm not getting it. It's been 4 years or so. That's the thing. You don't want to waste your own fucking time. And that comes with age as well, maturity, and a series of bad experiences maybe that show you elements of what could make the situation really shit and not worth investing in. Holy Jesus. Turn the sender times 10, bitch. So move me. Who's ever sending this flu to me, send it back to me. Yeah, fuck you. Anyway, a little bit of magic there. You can have that one if you want. But you know, I don't have time for time wasters. As you get older, you're like, I'm less inclined to tolerate shit. And that's the thing, is like, a lot of people want to waste other people's time because it might suit them, or they like the mind game situation, or it's fun to fuck with people. I'm sitting there going, you that bitter and, you know, cashed out on your own fucking reality. You gotta fuck with other people. So what is that? It's sad. It's like, get a life. Go get a hobby. Instead of, you know, manipulating and hurting people. It just seems ridiculous. I find that it is usually attached to some kind of trauma themselves, but they refuse to accept it and therefore create problems in other people's lives. Oh God, what are we doing? The road works, but why? Oh, it might actually be cleaning up. There is flooding. Okay. That's a legit reason. You can have those roadworks. There's flooding and branches and everything. I've got 10 minutes to get to work, so this better be good. But you don't want to. You find as you go along, you're less inclined to take shit, tolerate shit, because you're not young and dumb anymore. You're old and tired, and any extra energy that you have to exert trying to make shit make sense, it's usually no. I don't want to. So instead of aiming for things like any relationship, you'll aim for higher quality relationships. Not that it takes less effort, but the payback is better. You know, you sit there and think, I've got this immature guy. Do I want to spend the next 20 years hoping on the off chance that potentially he could grow up to be an actual man? Or should I just cut my losses here because you're wasting my fucking time, I'm getting tired, and I'm not carrying your ass for 20 years because it's a shit investment? You know, you've got to meet people at the level of patience and tolerance that you have. And at this point, I'm nearly 40, I don't have the patience and tolerance to be situating myself with people who aren't willing to put in the effort, don't want to grow, don't want to do all the good stuff about adulting. They just want to sit in their 20s and pretend like the, you know, subsequent 20 years that followed didn't fucking happen. You know, we're just still the same, man. I mean, what's that snippet that they keep showing about Matthew McConaughey when he was in that movie? He gets older and the girls just keep getting younger. It's like, yeah, and eventually it's going to be pedophilia. It's like, you need to acknowledge that at some point you are growing, systems are changing, and you need to adapt. But they don't want to. Gives you the shits. These are the fucking time wasters that live in denial, that don't want to actually grow and build and do anything. But we try and be nice to them. And we try and be kind and inclusive, and oh, they've got issues, and oh, I don't judge. I fucking judge. I keep fucking judging. At this point, it's safer to judge. It's safer to judge than get bogged in with another moron that doesn't want to pull their own weight. And in this case, it's a safety issue as well. It's not just a case of, oh, it's inconvenient and it's bad for my ego. It's a safety issue. It's a resource issue. It's a case of, I'm not going to waste my fucking time because I only got a little bit of time. But like, I'm like nearly 40. I got maybe another 40 years on average left where I actually want to go and do something and build a legacy and get my shit running. And I'm stuck with a man-child who doesn't want to fucking act like an adult, can't look after himself, won't look after himself, expects me to wipe his ass. You're wasting everyone's time here, not just mine, not just yours. So you gotta be a bit cutthroat in that as well. That's just in relationships, though. It's not just in relationships. You got to look at the other things as well. It's like, what is actually taking up your time for the sake of benefiting someone else who's not reciprocal? Not that all your interactions need to be transactional, but at the same time, you know, you ever got one of those friends that's constantly asking you for money or something, but they never pay you back? You know, it's just like in Friday, bye Felicia, you know? There's always after something, but they never pay you back, but they know because you did it the last time that they'll keep coming back to you. You gotta start setting those fucking boundaries up. These fuckers will come back for more because they know you're nice and they can. I love that movie. Bye Felicia. Yeah, she was weird. She needs to clean. I could watch that totally today, actually. It's a bit rainy. I might, actually. But the time wasters, they're never going to actually contribute to what you're trying to do, even if what you're trying to do is for both of you, or if you're in a family, all of you. You need to find someone who's going to pull their own weight and help. Time wasters are not there for fun. I mean, if it's a genuine aspect, like a disabilities, which they can't overcome, for example. Like if you're with a person and they get in a car accident and they're paraplegic for the rest of their life. That's a legit reason. That's okay. That's alright. I'm not saying shit on those people. But I'm saying people who don't want to grow up, don't want to contribute, that are perfectly physically fine, mentally fine. Well, not mentally fine. No one's mentally fine. But, you know, people who have the capability. I mean, even that quadriplegic would want to join in at some point. I mean, you can't count them out. I don't think they'll let you, quite frankly. He was like, how dare you? So I know it's okay. I'm autistic. Anyway. We're all in this boat together somewhat. So, you know, it's the people who don't want to help because they know that you'll do it for them. They're the time wasters. When it comes to wasting your own time, that's just interactions with other people. You don't want to waste your own time. You don't want to sit on your ass. One example I've got at the moment is because I'm having the week off because I'm sick from the gym. I'm trying not to see it as a waste of time because I do need the time to heal. But at the same time, yeah, good one, guy. 20-meter drop in front of you. I know I'm going to hit the gym when Monday comes anyway, regardless of whether I still got a sniffle or whatever, because I don't leave anything longer than a week unless I'm touring or something. I don't have it in me to be that way. But I'm still taking all my supplements and stuff because even though I'm not training, I still want to know that my body is getting taken care of, that I know that I'm not wasting my times, because if you don't take your supplements and your protein, even if you're not training at this point, you're wasting your resources. Your body's going to go downhill, especially my immune system, because I'm not putting in the maintenance to keep the ship afloat. So I know I don't want to waste my own time there, and it would take a while to build up those levels of, you know, I want to say nutrition, healthiness, if I just drop it and leave it for a while, which I've done before, and it's a nightmare as well. It's a pain in the ass because you get sick, you get tired, especially when you drop things like your iron. I know that the duration of this flu has only lasted roughly 4 days because I've been taking my green supplements and stuff like that, and my vitamin C and all that stuff. I kept my body in a maintenance level minimum in order to avoid lengthy sicknesses. If I'd just given up taking everything together, I know I would have suffered a worse fate. I would have gone right under. Which I'm watching my brother, because my brother's got the same thing this week. He started in a sinuses and then went. I'm watching him and I'm going, you just don't survive flus well, do you? But he doesn't do all the supplements and stuff. He does, you know, I'll take it as it comes and just sort of, you know, bear it out. I'm sitting there going, no, I'm prepping for this. You and your ADHD ass can handle what you want. I'm autisming this and prepping. One of the perks of being me. I can foresee this might be coming, so I will organise to get it dealt with early, so whatever damage does arrive is usually minimum. But he's sort of wings it with a lot of things. He still achieves. He's still doing really well. But at the same time, he doesn't tend to prep for things like sickness or unexpected expenses. Whereas I sort of like predict shit coming, and I operate accordingly. Yeah, it's different of temperaments. Difference of temperaments. That's okay. Everybody's different. But I just know if I'm going to get sick, I want to get sick on my own sort of terms, you know? Is it a control freak thing? I don't know. Wait a minute, it's only me I'm controlling. Right. Gotcha. But you don't want to waste your time. You put the effort in, even if it hasn't arrived yet, you put the effort in to lay the tracks for the train that's coming. I know at some point I'm going to get sick this year. I keep taking my supplements and I keep the ball rolling. Even if I do get sick, I know I'm going to be working through the sickness regardless, because I work sick, dead, dying, bleeding anyway. I have done it for 15 years now. I'm not going to stop now. You're going to have to take me out with like a bus or something. It's like, oh, why isn't she at work today? Oh, she actually got hit by a bus. Okay. Fine. How'd she do that? She doesn't go on the street. I don't know. But we're gonna plow on regardless, because that's just how I operate. I say I'm going to do something, I fucking do it. Regardless of whether I'm bleeding at the time or not. That's my stubbornness. That's me being stubborn done right or wrong. Because I don't tend to take sick days. I'm giving myself some slack this week, but I'm still sort of working full time and running my businesses. I'm working on my businesses before and after work. So my work day starts at 5 till 5. So it's 12 hours of business, which isn't that bad. It's a different workload. Teaching compared to working on my businesses. One's a lot quieter and a lot more confined, less chaotic. So it's not that bad. I know the bulk of my stress happens between 8 and 3. So as long as I can get through that, I know I'm not having too bad a time. I don't feel like I'm wasting my time by not going to the gym, because I'm still working on the other projects. Ooh, we're in my old neighborhood. Get ready for some weird shit. Okay. But that's the thing, is like I even though I'm sick, I've only cut out one thing that I know is gonna be exhausting. Oh, who's that? Dead person plaque. Don't know them. But you know, you don't completely drop everything. It's like, what bugs me is people that don't want to start either. It's like, I've overthought this. I've thought myself into a hole about this. I'm now procrastinating because I can't be asked. It is a form of dissociation. Zoning out in life, essentially. It is an official thing where people procrastinate. They're actually zoning out from their life and what they need to be doing, because it becomes too overwhelming and stuff. But if you start segmenting the project into smaller chunks and operate just on that small chunk, one at a time, once that's executed, you just move on to the next one. It usually works out okay. But they see the whole project and it becomes so overwhelming, they don't want to even start. I got kids at work like that. So, you know, if you ever feel overwhelmed to the extent where you're procrastinating and it's just too much, break it down to a smaller chunk. That's all we need to do. And that's really frequently happening with my kids who've got like ADD, ADHD, because they look at the whole thing and they go, ah! It's too much, I can't do it. It's like, no, you can't do it all at once. And no one ever fucking does, if you think about it, even if you're okay with looking at the big project and going, right. Because the first thing you're going to do when you look at the big projects, as a person who doesn't disassociate with things like that, is you're going to go, okay, I'm just going to start on this. You pick a bit. Just like when you're doing a jigsaw, you pick a bit. You say, I'm going to do that corner first, then I'm going to work out the frame, then I'm going to backfill. It's like a jigsaw. People look at the picture of the jigsaw and go, ah! Ah! And they assume that you need to do it all in one big go. I mean, I'm not just saying collectively pick up all the pieces of the puzzle in a big chunk and slap it on the floor and hope it works. Why isn't it fitting together? Because you're not supposed to do it all in one big go. You're meant to do little bits at a time. But I think it's a perception issue rather than a functional issue, rather. You're looking at it like it's a massive project that's overwhelming. The reality is it's a series of small projects that aren't. Ooh, Ooh, I'm having to park over here. Ooh, it's raining. Oh, this is the school I don't like. I've somehow gotten their list again. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm going to cut them off as soon as I finish today. They bug me. Are we in? Don't know. No lines. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, I think, because I just pulled up to work. Oops. And I might be running a bit late, even though I don't want to go in. Anyway, what was the thing? Time wasting. Okay, let's not time waste, even though I say that in a bit of a hypocritical way, because there's even things that I waste time on, obviously. I've done it a lot. If you need to look at a massive project and it's causing you to procrastinate, which is in a sense, you know, just dissociating from the situation because you feel it's too stressful, try and bunch it up into small grouped projects. Like writing a story, the first thing you're going to need to write is, you know, map it out. Then you might start with the introduction chapter. Then, you know, like the first paragraph. You know, you've got to cut it up into little sizable pieces. It's project management at this point. Don't let the outer thing make it seem too intimidating that you won't even start. Like I'm keeping a journal at the moment on my Sparta project, which was a year-long challenge to try and save money. Using the tricks and the hacks I picked up in childhood from my parents and various ones I picked up along the way. In the end, it's literally an organizer, financial organizer, like a diary, where I've just written for a day, and every day I just sit down and I write a page. What I did in the day, how it's different, what I need to do next. And you just gradually, day by day, you work through it. You chunk it. You don't look at this massive book and go, oh, fuck. You look at the one page and you say, what did I do today that was worth adding to this? What's another idea that I picked up that I can add to this? And it's only a small section. It's a small A5 section piece of paper. It's not a huge, chunky book. And by the end of it, because I'm near the end of it now, I'm stopping on July 1st. And I'm going to probably scan it and maybe try and put it somewhere so someone can access it. At the end of it, I know it's a thick book, and I'm flicking through the pages going, I don't even remember writing this shit. But because I did it so long ago, why? Anyway, because I did it so long ago, it seems to make sense. Can you hear that? Why do I hate my area? I'm not allowed to move now. I want to. My instinct is to have a mild tantrum and just pull away and go park somewhere else. But, you know, I won't do it. Because that might be a little bit infantile. I'm tempted though. Every time. Empty car park. I think they do it to piss me off. I don't know. Probably not. Anyway. But I'm going to, you know, in the end I'm going to look at the major project of this book, essentially, that I've written. But knowing that I did like a page a day, and it just works out really well, because it would be you. Go away. What does it want? Can I lock myself in at this point? I'm tempted. Go away. I'm going to pretend I'm doing something important. Yeah, you're an idiot. What the fuck with I work here, dildo. Oh my god. He's like looking at me from the front. He's like, I work here, dildo. What do you think I'm gonna do? Steal your Hyundai? Oh my god. Why do I keep coming back to my hometown? Anyway, I've got to go. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna see him in the office like in 3 minutes. Why is it? What? You idiot. I wonder if he's work experience or something. Jesus Christ. Dude, I'm a teacher. They know me. I gotta go. I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday. It's Odin's Day, so let's use our intelligence, unlike that guy. And keep the ball rolling, right? Try not to procrastinate. Try not to time waste. I am wasting time now, but I will walk into class, essentially, at some point. Take it easy, okay?